capture native data layers feature is the primary feature on the native data layers listener. This feature allows you to tell ListenLayer about native data layer activity, or a data layer activity that is generated outside of ListenLayer, and instruct the listener to listen for that activity. And once it does that, it'll re-push that information into the data layer so that you can customize the information. So a use case here would be if you have a website that contains custom programming or an application outside of ListenLayer that generates data layer activity, and you want to do something with that data layer activity, such as insert custom values. Now, when this is enabled, you'll want to jump to the event screen, and you'll notice that the native data layer event is the primary event. This is the event that will be pushed into the data layer when your native events are recognized. And down here under My Native Events, you're going to define the names of the events that you want ListenLayer to listen for. So in this case, we have 3 of them: free page view, update pet, step. So we have an outside application or custom code on our website that's pushing these events into the data layer. And we would like to do something with that information. So we're telling ListenLayer to wait for this listener activity, or for this data layer activity, and then allow us to do something. So make sure that you have these defined, make sure that your changes are published, and then you can start to test on your website. So let's jump to our test website. We have our debug view open, and we're working with a website here that has a multi-step form. So we're going to select one of the steps, and we're going to click next, and then we'll jump back to our debug view, and we'll notice that we have 2 new data layer events: update pet and form step. So as the user progresses through this funnel, we have this data layer activity, which includes an accumulation of information about the pet that the user has entered, as well as the step that they're on. So you can see here, the step name has resulted in them getting to step number 5, which is right here. It says, what is your name? So our programming or development team, whoever has built this website, has already put some data layer activity in here, and we want to do something with it because in certain situations you may need to utilize this information, but you may want to customize it or use it to do something else. So in this case, we use the native data layers feature. We tell ListenLayer to pay attention to these 2 events. And what you'll see here is now we have 2 additional events called native data layer, each of which corresponds to these events that we've indicated. So the update pet one, which is message 110, corresponds to message 112 here. And you can tell that because although the events have the same name here, 112 and 113, we indicate which native event name was the one that triggered this. And what you see is that ListenLayer actually grabs onto all the information from that data layer push and re-pushes it into the data layer here. And so you might be asking yourself, well, what would be the purpose of that? What this does is makes it available inside of ListenLayer for us to write custom rules for. So for example, maybe we want to take information from the data layer here, and we want to use that to centralize data, or maybe tag or categorize data, or indicate user quality. There's all sorts of things that you may want to do depending on your situation. And to do that, we would enable our custom data layer values. Furthermore, we may want to actually store some of this information in the browser, and so we might want to enable browser storage. And both of these would then allow us to write rules to do something with this data layer activity. Now we can also see that the form step here has returned an additional native data layer event with the information from that step. I'd recommend that you jump into the video that'll be posted here on the custom data layer values, as well as taking a look at the browser storage. These 2 features will help you to truly understand the power of the native data layers listener.